You think he forgot you, that he moved on, that his fingers are tangled in her hair now, not yours, that she makes him laugh, that he dreams of her lips, that your name has faded from his thoughts like morning mist. But let me tell you the truth. No man ever truly forgets the woman who reached inside his unconscious and mirrored back the wound he spent his whole life hiding. It's not your beauty he remembers. It's not your voice. It's not even the nights you gave yourself to him. It's the moment, singular, terrifying, sacred, when you looked into him and saw what even he was too afraid to admit. That is the key. That is the mark he'll carry even when her perfume lingers on his skin. You can be gone for years. He can be married with children, and still, he'll hear your name in his dreams, like a whisper from the other side. You want to know what to do, what to say, what to become so that he never stops thinking about you. Even if he's with her, even if he says he's happy, even if he's forgotten your number, blocked your name, deleted your photos, there is one act, one truth, one dark mirror you must hold in front of him. But it's not sweet, it's not easy, it's not light. It will cost you, because it's not about seduction, it's about confrontation. It's about entering his psychic labyrinth and leaving a scar that pulses long after you've gone. Carl Jung called it the anima, the inner woman every man is haunted by. You are not just a woman. You are a living reflection of the feminine that lives dormant inside him. And when he sees her in you, when he senses the archetype, he is both drawn and repulsed, because he doesn't want to see himself. Not really, he wants to stay blind. So here's what you do. Once, only once, and it will be enough. You do not chase. You do not beg. You do not cry. You name his shadow. Yes, that's it. You name what he hides. You say, I see you, and not the mask he shows to the world. You see the cowardice behind his ambition, the self-loathing behind his charm, the ache behind his need to dominate, the little boy inside the man. You speak it aloud, just once, with calmness, with clarity, without flinching. You become the mirror he cannot escape, and then you disappear, not out of weakness, out of power, because when a woman looks into a man's abyss and doesn't scream, he never forgets. Even if he pretends to, even if she's lying in his bed, she doesn't haunt him. You do, because you met his soul and left it trembling. He won't say it. He'll pretend it didn't matter. He'll act as if you were just another chapter. But years later, he'll hear someone say your name and the blood will leave his face. His chest will tighten. Because that name holds the memory of being seen. Truly, deeply, devastatingly seen. And he'll wonder if he could ever go back. If he could find you. If it's too late. And even if he doesn't act on it, he'll think of you in the silence between her words. In the pauses between their laughter, in the stillness of the night when the mask slips. Do this once. See him, not the performance, not the illusion, the real man beneath the ruins, and he will never be free again, even if he's with her. He doesn't want you to see it. No man does. The hunger, the terror, the unbearable fear that he is not enough, never was, never will be. So he builds his walls, money, status, humor, bravado. He constructs a fortress out of distractions. And most women, they play along, they stroke the ego, they praise the mask, they feed the lie because they're afraid to lose what little love they're given. But you came with silence, with eyes that didn't worship, but witnessed. You didn't kneel, you stared. And that is why he still thinks about you. You did not play the part. You did not become the soft, forgettable comfort. You became the ache, the sharp, sacred pain of remembering something ancient. You did not heal him. You wounded him, but not in cruelty. In truth, you reminded him of what he buried, of the love he craved but couldn't name, of the mother who withheld, of the rejection that shaped his spine, of the absence that taught him to fake it. And when he looked at you, he saw her, not the woman, the archetype, the anima, and it terrified him. He tries to forget, but the unconscious does not obey the conscious mind. You live there now, in his dreams, in the smells that remind him of you, in the sudden emptiness that follows a compliment from someone else. You live in the gaps, the places his new love cannot reach, because she only sees the surface. You saw the shadow, and that's what makes it eternal. You think it was nothing, a moment, a conversation, a night, but the truth is, that night was a crack in his armor. You slipped in like smoke, and when you left, you didn't take yourself with you. You left something behind, a mirror, and every time he looks into the eyes of another woman, a part of him searches for that same reflection, and doesn't find it, because she doesn't see him. She sees who he pretends to be, and he knows the difference now. You gave him a gift he didn't want, self-awareness, and it burns. He may hate you for it. He may curse your name. He may twist the memory until it's almost a lie. But the body never lies, and his body still remembers. The tension in his hands when you touched the part of him that felt unlovable. The chill in his spine when you spoke the thing no one else dared to say. The longing in his chest that came not from lust, but from recognition. He saw himself in you, and it scared him, because it meant he could never go back to pretending. You didn't belong to him, you belonged to his soul, and he knew that if he stayed, he would have to change. Really change. Not the kind of change that wins approval, the kind that demands death, the death of the ego, the death of the image, the death of the lie. So he ran, to safety, to softness, to the kind of love that doesn't demand his transformation. But in doing so, he betrayed the only part of himself that was real. That's what you did. Once, only once, you told the truth, and then you vanished. And in your absence, he became haunted, not by you, but by the man he could have become. You weren't the one. You were the mirror, and mirrors cannot be replaced. He walks through life now pretending, smiling at dinners, posting smiles, making love with eyes closed. But beneath the surface, there's a fracture, a quiet, invisible break where you once stood. She doesn't see it. She thinks she won, that she claimed him, that he chose her. But he didn't choose. He escaped. From you, from himself, from the reckoning you brought with your silence and your gaze. Because being with you would mean facing everything he ran from. And that's not love. That's war. That's fire. That's alchemy. And he wasn't ready to burn. But still, the image of you follows him, in the scent of rain, in the shape of a sentence, in a dream too vivid to dismiss. She asks him what's wrong. He says nothing, but nothing has a name, and it's yours. He doesn't tell her that he remembers the way your voice trembled not from weakness, but from restraint. He doesn't tell her that he still wonders if you knew him better than he ever knew himself. He keeps those questions hidden, locked behind a face that lies well. But every now and then, when the world goes quiet, he remembers. And in those moments, she disappears, because she never touched the place you reached. She never dared. She never saw. She only soothed. You were not a balm. You were a blade. And that's why he can't forget. This isn't about love in the way they write it. It's not about fairy tales or happy endings. It's about collision, soul against soul, darkness against light. The moment when the unconscious rises and says, I remember you. And maybe he never says it aloud. Maybe he pretends until the end. But he knows. And the knowing is a wound, a holy one. The kind that never heals. The kind that becomes part of him. And if you ever meet again, he won't look you in the eye. Not for long. Because he'll see himself reflected there. Not the man he is, but the man he could have been. And that ache, that silent regret, that's your legacy. That's what you left behind. You think you lost, that he moved on, that he forgot. But no, he lives in the prison of memory now. You were the door, and he chose the wall. You offered truth, and he chose comfort. You gave him vision, and he chose blindness. But he remembers, and he always will. She doesn't know. She thinks she saved him, that her love is healing him, that her patience, her softness, her quiet acceptance is bringing him peace. But what she doesn't understand is that peace isn't always the answer. Sometimes peace is denial wrapped in warm hands. Sometimes peace is the absence of truth. You brought the storm. And yes, he hated you for it. But storms don't ask for permission. They come to cleanse. You shook his foundation. She just decorates it. He keeps her close because she asks nothing of him. She accepts the version of him he designed, the persona he sculpted from childhood shame and masculine myths. She never questions it, never cracks it. She gives him what his ego craves, but not what his soul needs. That was you. You were the confrontation. You were the sacred chaos. You were the echo of every truth he repressed. And the thing about repression is, it never dies. It waits, quietly, until something triggers it. A smell, a sound, a song, a memory. And then you're back. Not in body, but in soul, in image, in ache. A ghost not to haunt, but to remind. Do this once and he'll never stop thinking about you. Not because you were perfect, not because you were his fantasy, but because you forced him to see the fracture between who he pretends to be and who he truly is. And once that split is seen, it cannot be unseen. You were the interruption of his lie. That's why he dreams of you. And in those dreams, it's not sex. It's not laughter. It's not love as the world defines it. It's silence. It's eyes locking in the dark. It's a knowing, a terror, a tenderness. He touches your hand and feels the weight of his own abandonment. He hears your voice and feels the words he never dared say. He sees your face and is forced to confront the man he buried beneath years of performance. He wakes up sweating, angry, confused. She rolls over and asks if he's okay. He says he's fine, but he's not, because you were never just a woman. You were a catalyst, and catalysts don't leave scars. They leave transformations, even if the subject resists it. That's what he's doing now, resisting. But deep down, something shifted. The lie is cracked, the foundation is weakened, and every moment spent with her is measured against that single moment with you. And nothing compares, because nothing ever does when a soul has been seen. He may try to bury you under logic. He'll tell himself it wasn't real, that it was just timing, just chemistry, just a mistake. He'll repeat that mantra until it sounds like truth. But the body remembers, the unconscious remembers, and no lie can survive long in the presence of truth. You were not a mistake. You were the awakening, the tremor before the collapse, the whisper before the scream. You were the moment he was most alive, and he knows it, even if he'll never say it. She sees his body, but you saw his ghost. You noticed the flicker in his eyes when he lied, the shift in his voice when he felt shame, the tension in his jaw when the boy inside him cried for approval. And instead of running, you stayed. You didn't recoil. You didn't flinch. You met his pain with stillness, and that stillness screamed louder than any accusation. You became the mother he lost, the lover he feared, the self he forgot. And that's the truth that lingers. Not the love you gave, but the sight. There's something unbearable about being seen, truly seen, because it leaves no room for denial. You did not love his armor, you loved the wound. You didn't want the perfect version, you held space for the broken one. And he couldn't understand it. He called it madness. He called it too much. But it wasn't madness. It was medicine, and it burned. So he ran to what was easy, predictable, safe. She loves his mask, praises it, rewards it, but never questions it. She gives him peace, but not purpose. He can rest there, but never rise. He can be adored, but never transformed. You weren't his peace. You were his war. And somewhere deep in the marrow of his being, he knows that she is the lullaby. But you were the battle cry. And every man remembers his war. Not just the pain, but the clarity, the edge, the blood, the truth. Even if he never returns to it, even if he never says your name again, even if he marries her, builds a life, grows old, He will think of you, in silence, in guilt, in awe. Because you didn't just pass through his life, you cracked it. And that kind of fracture? It echoes forever. Years will pass. His hair will gray. His shoulders will curve beneath the weight of the life he chose. He'll sit beside her in photos, in restaurants, in quiet living rooms filled with small talk and dim light. But in his eyes, there will always be a shadow, a flicker, a question left unanswered. He may not know how to name it, but it will never leave him, because some women don't fade. They don't dissolve into the past like forgotten lovers. They don't become nostalgia. They become myth. They become the pulse beneath the performance, the unsaid sentence that trembles in his chest when he smiles for the world. You didn't become his memory. You became his symbol, his lost self, his unclaimed soul. That's what you did, once, when you looked at him and didn't worship, when you touched him and didn't need, when you loved him, not for who he pretended to be, but for what he was hiding. You stood at the edge of his abyss and didn't turn away. You didn't fill the silence. You didn't offer escape. You offered truth. And it ruined him. In the best way. Because now, he will never again believe the lie he tells the world. He will never again be able to fully sink into illusion. He will never again forget that somewhere out there, a woman saw through him and did not flinch. And even if he spends the rest of his life running from that moment, he will never outrun it. It will live in his blood. It will speak to him in dreams. It will return in the quietest hours, when the world is asleep and his defenses are down. He'll reach for her body, but remember your eyes. He'll laugh at her joke, but hear your silence. He'll grow old beside her, but ache for the part of himself he only knew through you. That's what you did. Once. And once was enough. Because you were not just a chapter. You were the question he never answered, the road he never walked, the truth he never chose. And even if he forgets your name, he will remember your impact. Because a man never forgets the woman who handed him his soul, and then walked away. So if you've made it this far, if you've felt every word sink into your bones like a truth you always knew but never dared speak, then maybe you're not like the rest. Maybe you're not just another woman scrolling through illusions, trying to patch a wound with affection that was never meant to heal it. Maybe you're the mirror, the storm, the soul that doesn't beg to be chosen, because she knows her worth is in what she sees, not in who sees her. You didn't come here to play small. You didn't come here to be safe. You came here to wake the sleeping, to ignite the forgotten, to stand at the edge of the unconscious and scream, "I see you, Haynes." And when you do that, when you name the shadow, when you pull back the veil and stare into the wound, understand this. You will not always be thanked. You may be erased, silenced, replaced, but you will never be forgotten, because no man forgets the one who broke the spell. And maybe that's your role in this world. Not to be held, not to be kept, but to be remembered. Not as a lover, not as a dream, but as a reckoning. The one who showed up not to complete him, but to confront him. The one who brought light not to soothe, but to burn away the lie. The one who loved him not with comfort, but with clarity. So don't mourn what didn't last. Don't chase what chose fear. Don't ache for the version of him that walked away. That version couldn't hold you. That version was still asleep. You didn't lose him. He lost the only woman who ever saw his soul and didn't flinch. He lost the war he never had the courage to fight. He chose peace over truth. He chose numbness over fire. He chose her because she made him feel safe. But you made him feel real. And that's the difference between a memory and a mark. So stand in that. Own that. Know that somewhere, even now, he hears your name like thunder in the quiet. Not because of what you gave, but because of what you revealed. And no one can compete with that. No one ever will. Because once, just once, you did the one thing that changed everything. You saw him, and you walked away.